Om Jnantimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 17 verse 4. Yajante satvika devan yaksha rakshansi rajasaha pretan bhut ganascha anye yajante tamasa janaha. Persons in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, whose disposition is similar to their own. Those in the mode of passion worship yakshas and rakshasas, who are of like nature, and those in mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits, being akin to them. In this chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna is describing the three different categories of faith. Faith in the mode of goodness, faith in mode of passion, and faith in mode of ignorance. He has so far explained that one's faith develops based on the impressions he is carrying from the previous lives. And those impressions are again due to the type of activities he has performed, the type of association he has kept in the previous lives. And according to the faith, which is based on the disposition of his inner mental state, he worships different types of entities. Shri Krishna is now elaborating on that in this verse. Shri Gurudev states in the commentary that in this verse Shri Bhagwan is explaining the varieties of mundane faith of persons who worship the various demigods. According to scripture, Shri Bhagwan is the only worshipable entity. But impelled by various types of material desires, some people place their faith in the worship of various demigods and other entities. This is an important point to understand. When we talk of worship, then according to the Vedic scriptures, the worship can only be done for one who is worshipable, and the only worshipable entity is the Supreme Lord. However, because of lack of knowledge and also because of unlimited material desires, people tend to worship not the Supreme Lord but various demigods and demigoddesses. In the scriptures, they are described as the caretakers of different departments of the universal affairs. They are doing all of these upon the instruction of the Supreme Lord. On their own, they don't have any power. Whatever they are able to do is only by the power of the Supreme Lord. And those who do not desire pure devotion, they go to such demigods, and the demigods keep them away from the Lord by fulfilling the material desires. But if one sincerely prays to the demigods also, then because many of them are devotees, they would direct that person to Shri Bhagwan. But till one is only wanting material sense gratification, the demigods provide that. So Shri Gurudev states that the faith is of three kinds: the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Those whose faith is in the mode of goodness worship demigods such as Brahma, Shiv, Indra, Chandra, and Surya. So these are some of the famous demigods. Of course, according to the Vedic scriptures, there are 330 million different types of demigods, because it's an immense creation. So many different visions of the universe. Just like in a large country, there are many government offices and many government officers. So this universe is so huge, and the Lord has deputed many of the demigods to take care of various affairs of the universe. So these, specifically Lord Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra and Surya, they are worshipped by those who are in mode of goodness. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that those who are in mode of goodness, they also worship the demigods who are in goodness, and they worship them in accordance with the injunctions of the scriptures. Because their faith is in the demigods, they are also called demigods, since they develop the same nature and qualities. So when you are worshipping an entity very sincerely and constantly meditating on that demigod, then their demigodly qualities will also appear in the person who is worshipping. And the same principle also applies to those whose minds are in the mode of passion or ignorance, and they worship entities who are also in that mode. For example, those whose faith is in the mode of passion, they worship Durga, Yakshas and Rakshasas and so on. So Durga is the manifestation of the illusory energy of the Lord. Durga means fort, and Durga means the one guarding that fort. So what is this fort? This is a fort of the material world, in which we are all bound by the shackles of the three modes of material nature. And Durga Devi is guarding this fort, making sure that nobody runs away from here. Now if we worship her, then we are going to continue to stay shackled within the material world. Only those who are intelligent enough and worship the Supreme Lord, who is the master of Durga Devi, then pleased by their worship, Durga Devi happily releases them from the material bondage so they can go back to the supreme abode of the Lord. But unfortunately, because of no knowledge of what the scriptures tell us, what Shri Krishna himself is stating in Bhagavad Gita, people worship Durga Devi and thus stay in their miserable condition. Durga herself is a great devotee of the Lord. She is just doing her job. So those who worship her, asking for material desires, she fulfills them and thus keeps them entangled. So such people also develop the qualities of mode of passion. And those who are in the mode of ignorance, they worship ghosts and spirits who are also in the mode of ignorance. Now, Gurudev explains a very important point in this regard. He says that sometimes one demigod is worshipped by those in the three different modes, meaning the same demigod may be worshipped by those who are in the mode of goodness, passion or ignorance. We see this specifically for the case of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. So Gurudev gives the example of how different people have worshipped Lord Shiva. So for example, Markandeya Rishi's worship of Lord Shiva at the time of devastation was in the mode of goodness. So Markandeya Rishi is a very famous saint, and his story is described in Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 12, chapters 8 to 10. He was the son of Mrikandu and his wife Marudvati. They both didn't have any child, so they prayed to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva, pleased by their penances, appeared in front of them and gave them a choice that either you can have a son who will be very wise and virtuous, but he will live only for 16 years. Or you can have a child who would be dumb, unintelligent, and not interested in spiritual things, but he will live a long life. So Mrikandu and his wife, they selected the first option, that they wanted to have a son who was virtuous even though he may live for only 16 years. So and he was born, his name was Markandeya, and he was a very brilliant and devoted youth and very much loved by his parents. He was a very, very devout and faithful child. He was also initiated into the Gayatri mantras when he was at the age of 12. Now, as he was coming close to the age of 16, his parents started getting worried that now he will have to die because his life was only for 16 years. So at that time they told him, Markandeya Rishi said that, "Oh my dear beloved parents, don't be grief stricken. If you please allow me, I would like to perform penances and please Lord Shiva." So upon their approval and receiving their blessings, he started performing severe austerities and penances to please Lord Shiva. Now, at the same time, the time came when his 16 years were completed, and Yamraj came to claim him. But Markandeya Rishi, who was worshipping Lord Shiva in the form of Shivling, he clung to Lord Shiva, the Shivling, and kept chanting prayers to him. When Yam tried to put a noose around his soul to pull him away, that noose, the rope, fell on the Shivling as well. And that time Lord Shiva emerged from the Shivling. He was very furious and he kicked Yam away, thereby saving Markandeya and granting him eternal youth. So like this, Markandeya Rishi was able to conquer death. Lord Vishnu granted Markandeya a vision of illusion, and he also experienced, because when the pralaya came, he was the one who did not die, but everything else was submerged in water. That time, he was fearful and trying to find a place where there was some land, and he ended up being in Navadvip, and there at Surbhi Kunj, Surbhi cow rescued him, brought him on the land of Navadvip. And that time Markandeya Rishi saw, oh, this Navadvip was not affected by the waters of cosmic devastation, because the Navadvip is eternal, and even when devastation takes place, it does not affect the holy land of Navadvip. So Markandeya Rishi's worship of Lord Shiva was in mode of goodness, and as a result of this worship, he remained alive for one entire day of Lord Brahma and acquired knowledge of the creation of the universe. So one entire day of Lord Brahma is 1000 cycles of the 4 yugas. It's a very, very long time. 4.32 trillion years. 4,320,000,000 years. So simply by worshipping Lord Shiva in the mode of goodness, his 16 years of age became as long as one day of Lord Brahma, trillions of years of life. Now, Gurudev explains that Kagbhushundi's worship of Kagbhushundi's worship of Lord Shiva was also in mode of goodness, and therefore by worshipping Lord Shiva in mode of goodness, he attained bhakti to Lord Sri Ramachandra, and he also attained eternal life, and he wanted to keep his body of a crow because it was in that body that he had attained devotion to Lord Sri Ram. He was so blessed that he was there even during the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Braj Dham. So worship in the mode of goodness leads to such wonderful results. The worship of Lord Shiva performed by Banasur and Ravan is considered worship in the mode of passion. So Banasur was a demoniac king and was also an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva. He had 1,000 arms and he would play the mridang when Lord Shiva would perform his Tandav dance. His story is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. His daughter Usha wanted to marry Anirudh, who was the grandson of Krishna. So once Anirudh was in Usha's palace and Banasur found that out and held him captive. Then Lord Krishna, along with Baldev and his huge army, attacked Banasur. Lord Shiva fought from the side of Banasur. There was a fierce battle and ultimately Banasur's side was defeated. And then Lord Shiva prayed to Lord Krishna to pardon Banasur. And Lord Krishna said, well, I had no intention to kill him because he's the son of Bali and the great grandson of devout Prahlad. And I had promised Bali not to kill any member of his family, and therefore I will not slay him. However, Krishna severed Banasur's extra arms to destroy his pride, leaving Banasur with only 4 arms. So Banasur's worship of Lord Shiva was in the mode of passion, just like Ravan's worship of Lord Shiva was, because it was not for attaining any higher goal. It was more to fulfill their material desires of immense power and a large kingdom. Now the worship of Bhasmasur is in the mode of ignorance. So Bhasmasur was also a very fierce demon, and after he got a boon from Lord Shiva, he performed severe austerities, pleased Lord Shiva, and then got a boon from him that on whosoever head he will keep his hand, that person will be burnt to ashes. And after getting this boon, the first one he wanted to burn to ashes was Lord Shiva. And then finally Lord Vishnu came in the form of Mohini and protected Lord Shiva. Shri Gurudev states that Durga Devi is also worshipped by those with 3 types of faith. By the influence of saintly association, however, faith in the mode of ignorance can transform into faith in the mode of passion. That faith can then be transformed into faith in the mode of goodness, which in turn can transform into transcendental faith beyond the modes of nature. So one can advance from the faith of ignorance to faith in mode of passion, and then faith in the mode of goodness, and finally come to the level of faith, transcendental faith, which is beyond the 3 modes of material nature. And only this transcendental faith will lead us to the abode of the Supreme Lord, ultimate freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Shri Gurudev explains further that the faith of Nirvisheshvadis or the Brahmvadis, who worship the featureless aspect of the Absolute, is also in the mode of goodness. They consider Brahm, the Absolute Truth, to be formless and featureless, and they imagine the forms of the 5 demigods to be representations of that formless reality, and thus they worship them. They do not believe in the form, but just for the purpose of meditation, they accept 5 forms, 5 different demigods, their forms, and worship them. In this way, they endeavor to purify their heart and attain knowledge. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj explains this further, that the impersonalists are supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness, and they worship 5 kinds of demigods. They worship the impersonal Vishnu form in the material world, which is known as philosophized Vishnu. Vishnu is the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the impersonalists, because they do not ultimately believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, imagine that the Vishnu form is just another aspect of the impersonal Brahman. They do not accept the features, the qualities, the form of the Lord, but they only accept a form for the purpose of meditation, but they think that the form is imaginary. So this is a big problem with their philosophy. They imagine that Lord Brahma is the impersonal form in the material mode of passion. So they sometimes describe 5 kinds of gods that are worshipable, but because they think that the actual truth is impersonal Brahman, they dispose of all worshipable objects at the ultimate end. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj also explains about the worship in the 3 modes of material nature. He explains that those in goodness worship a particular demigod for a particular purpose. Similarly, those who are in the mode of passion worship the demons. We recall that during the Second World War, a man in Calcutta worshipped Hitler because thanks to that war he had amassed a large amount of wealth by dealing in the black market. Similarly, those in the modes of passion and ignorance generally select a powerful man to be God. They think that anyone can be worshipped as God and that the same results will be obtained. So this is all out of misdirected emotions and lack of proper knowledge. So people just start worshipping mortal men and women as gods just because they feel that they are very powerful, or because of them they are getting some material benefits. And we see this so much happening nowadays, especially in India. But we should be very, very careful, because such worship is not according to the scriptures. Sri Swami Maharaj states further that it is clearly described in this verse that those who are in the mode of passion worship and create such gods, and those who are in the mode of ignorance and darkness worship dead spirits. Sometimes people worship at the tomb of some dead man. Sexual service is also considered to be in the mode of darkness. Similarly, in remote villages in India, there are worshippers of ghosts. We have seen that in India, certain people sometimes go to the forest, and if they have knowledge that a ghost lives in a tree, they worship that tree and offer sacrifices. These different kinds of worships are not actually God worship. God worship is for persons who are transcendently situated in pure goodness. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 4th canto, chapter 3, in the talks between Lord Shiva and Sati, Lord Shiva says, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam Yadiyate Tatra Puman Apavritah Sattve cha Tasmin Bhagwan Vasudevo Hi Adokshaja Me Namasa Vidhiyate. That I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudev in pure Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Vasudev, is revealed without any covering. So he clearly states that when someone is situated in pure goodness, he will not worship any demigods or ghosts or spirits. He will only worship Lord Vasudev, the son of Maharaj Vasudev, Krishna. That is, Krishna's name is Vasudev. So he is the only worshipable deity worshipped by those who are in mode of pure goodness. The purport is that those who are completely purified of the material modes of nature and who are transcendently situated can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if one wants to transcend the three modes of material nature and wants to come to the platform of pure goodness, then he should give up the worship of all other demigods, and having complete and firm faith that worship of Krishna includes all other kinds of worship, should worship Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the three modes of material nature, and thus one will also elevate to the level of pure goodness and become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the eternal abode of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, have a very blessed day.